work session for the Rutherford County School Board. First up, we have our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Katie Darby. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Next, we have the agenda. Everyone like to take a look at the agenda? And any questions or comments? If not, we can look at the consent agenda. Okay. Next up, we have buses.
That's on.
Sorry, not considered. We have Miss Jean Saunders of the American Heart Association is here to present to the board with the Youth Heart Ambassador. So sorry about that.
Thank you all so much for having us today. I am thrilled to be here. I'm excited about our partnership. Every single year, Rutherford County Schools goes above and beyond for the mission of the American Heart Association. And I'm super excited today to have with me Bryant Navarez, who is our Youth Heart Ambassador, and his mother, Patty, who's going to share a little bit about his story here in just a minute. But I passed out earlier an overview of our programs in the schools last year. Again, it's amazing the partners that I get to work with in Rutherford County Schools, and your administrators and your PE teachers across the district. And so super excited to tell you that we had 28 schools that participated in either the Kids Heart Challenge or the American Heart Challenge last year. And for those of you who may not know, the Kids Heart Challenge and the American Heart Challenge are programs of the American Heart Association that aim to teach students and families, not just students, but families as well, about nutrition and physical activity, and most importantly, hands-only CPR. We want all of our families to learn hands-only CPR, and that is a very significant piece of the Kids Heart Challenge and the American Heart Challenge. And so as you see it in the schools, you'll hopefully learn more about that piece of the program. But as I said, we had 28 schools that participated last year. We had 2,911 students that actually took the online module and learned hands-only CPR. And again, that's not just for our students, but we're asking students to take that home and learn it at home as well. So super excited about the programs being in the schools. Rutherford County Schools raised over $134,000 for the mission of the American Heart Association. So thank you very much for that. We had, I do want to recognize our top schools, our top fundraising schools from last year. We had McFadden School of Excellence that raised over $24,000. It's the little school that could. Plainview Elementary, also wanted to recognize them. They raised over $21,000 for the American Heart Association. And then Homer Petard Campus School raised over $11,000. So wanted to recognize those schools that go above and beyond. But once again, all of our schools in Rutherford County, it is a joy to work with them. I also wanted to bring your attention to the SERP legislation that was just passed. That's the current Tennessee law that addresses sudden cardiac arrest. We're asking all of our schools to have a cardiac response plan in place, and so this legislation kind of outlines what that looks like. So again, I thank you all for your assistance, your support in helping to make that happen across Rutherford County schools. Again, you're a model of what can be done in the school system. So with that, I am going to ask Caleb Tidwell, who so I'm very excited this past year has joined the American Heart Association board in Rutherford County and really has been an influence in kind of that marriage of what that American Heart Association board can impact in Rutherford County schools. So it's been a great honor to have him on board. And he actually has our Heart of Gold certificate that we would like to present from the American Heart Association to Rutherford County schools again this year. Dr. Sullivan, we would love for you to accept this on our behalf. And it just, once again, it says thank you to you all for being the support that you are for the work that we do, because we couldn't do what we do without you. So thank you for that. And I'm going to turn it over to Caleb now.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you enlightening them a little bit about what American Heart Association is doing in our schools. The reason I got involved is obviously the heart disease is the leading cause in death since 1950. It's all races, all ethnicities. And I had some close family members that passed away from this. And so when I was asked to join the board by the chairman, who is a friend of mine, it was an honor to do so. And I got to see on the inside some of the work that's being done in our schools. It's just another one of the great things that Rutherford County does, another one of the great programs for our community, and the partnership between the American Heart Association, and I know Dr. Sullivan has been a big supporter of that as well. This is a well-deserved reward. This is the Heart of Gold 2024 Top 5 Fundraising District in Tennessee, which is Rutherford County Schools, and we'd love to present this to you, Dr. Sullivan. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Eugene.
Thank you. So once again, thank you all. We couldn't do what we do without you. And so I am super excited to have with me today Bryant, who is our Youth Heart Ambassador in Rutherford County Schools this year. You know, the Kids Heart Challenge, while it is an educational program, it's also a chance to celebrate the work that's being done. And Bryant is the face of that. So I'm going to turn it over to Patty and Bryant now to share their story.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to read just a little backstory of my special kiddo here and the impact the American Heart Association has done in our lives. Bryant, sweetheart not biased, was diagnosed at birth with tetralogy of Fallot, pulmonary stenosis, and 3 ventricular septal defects, which means 3 holes in his heart. He was finally able to gain just enough weight at 4 months of age, which was 15 pounds, to be a candidate for his first open heart surgery. See, his tiny heart would burn calories so quickly, making it difficult to gain the required weight. Medication was given to him since birth, making him sleepy most of the time. We were instructed to try anything we could to prevent him from crying, which would burn calories quicker than usual. Do you know how hard it is to keep a baby from crying? Let me tell you, it was hard, but coffee got us through it, a lot of it. Just 1 year after his first open heart surgery, we noticed he had no interest in physical therapy, especially when he was being taught to crawl. As a mom, I had a hunch it was the sternum wires used to close his chest after open heart surgery that was causing pain and discomfort. His next intervention was done just a couple of months after we had a crawler. This mama's heart was so content that things were looking up, knowing that we had just started our one-of-a-kind heart journey. Life had just given us a new membership we never subscribed to, but little did we know we were grateful for every second of it. The American Heart Association is a distinguished organization that, even though it does not do the actual procedures or surgeries, it has funded 14 Nobel Prize winners, several important medical breakthroughs, CPR training, the first artificial heart valve, pacemakers, stents, among others. It is difficult to explain what American Heart Association means to my family and myself. It will always be on top of our gratitude list. The awareness we gain after belonging in the heart community will forever be carved in our hearts. Think about this. On average, a Super Bowl game lasts about 3 hours and 44 minutes. With one infant born with congenital heart disease every 15 minutes, during this year's game, 15 families will learn that their child has a congenital heart disease. Our journey would have been a different route if American Heart Association would not have been there for us. The support we have had through them since Bryant was born has been something I will not be able to be thankful for in this lifetime. When a child is born and diagnosed with any form of congenital heart disease, it is quite common that multiple illnesses accompany it. He was seen by numerous specialists like a nephrologist for his kidneys, a pulmonologist for his asthma, a neurologist for his brachycephaly and plagiocephaly, an eye specialist for his strabismus and his ocular torticollis, an orthopedist for his scoliosis, missing ribs, and butterfly vertebra, PT, OT, speech and nutrition to reach his milestones, and last but not least, his cardiologist for his broken heart. Now he is 9 years old and more aware of the importance of keeping his heart as healthy as he can. He is also aware that his heart condition will play a significant role in his life, but he says they can coexist. As a mom, that breaks my own heart. He has learned and has been through many medical settings no child should ever been to. He is also honored to be the 24th, 25th Youth Heart Ambassador and represent his beloved school, Browns Chapel Elementary. My mom heart is so proud of him and even more appreciative that our school participates in the American Heart Association Kids Heart Challenge. American Heart Association has impacted our lives for the better because we can connect with other families locally and nationally. I am grateful to belong and represent the American Heart Association. So now, how can you support American Heart Association? There are so many ways to help. You can go directly online to sign up as a volunteer to donate your time. You can fundraise, make a one-time or monthly donation, or leave a legacy gift. And I am his mother. And this is Bryant. Advice.
So I want to say thank you again to each and every one of you. It's Bryant and his mother and his family that inspire me to do the work that I do every day. And so thank you for allowing us to do this in Rutherford County Schools. You will see events kicking off starting in February. And so your schools that are participating, I provided a list today. And if your schools are participating, tell them thank you for all that they're doing on our behalf. We would appreciate that. And so again, thank you for allowing us to do what we do in the schools. Thank you for allowing Bryant to be our Youth Heart Ambassador this year. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Gina, I think you want us over there.
Thank y'all. There is no public comment. That will be Thursday. Rutherford Proud Communications Report.
It's spiking right now.
There's active debate on our social channels if you'd like to entertainment there. So we have a lot of stuff on Rutherford Proud this week. We have a ton of kids being recognized on Thursday. So Dr. Sullivan asked me to do this report tonight. I'm not going to go over every piece of data, but the communications department, Milan back here, who doesn't like attention, but she helped put this report together. This shows our December, on one side it shows our November to December growth in various platforms and some of our most popular posts. So in December, of course, Oakland High School winning their state championship. That was a very popular post, the most on Facebook and one of the most shared. Also, the announcement about the Stewart's Creek High School band being invited to the inauguration. That was a largest post on Instagram. And then you can see our number of active users on our website. These are just some highlights I'm pulling out, but that was 80,000 users during the month of December. And remember, December is a short month. It's about 2.5 to 3 weeks. The top thing that was visited would be the high school rezoning, the academic calendar, and available jobs. So those were our most popular pages. We also wanted to highlight a few things in January, even though this month is still, of course, active. But Dr. Sullivan's funny snow video that he did a couple weeks ago, that was our most popular post across all platforms so far this month. But that's pretty common. When we have a snow closure, as you can imagine, that's a pretty popular thing, and you see the numbers here. All the arrows are pointing up, so that's a good sign, better than pointing down. So any questions about the communications report? All right. Thank you as always.
Thank you. Next, we have the RCS Strategic Plan.
Whoops. This is just a review of our strategic plan. This we discussed at our board retreat back in October. This is one of the things that we're required to do once every 2 years for our state government, but we like to do it every year just to make sure it is connected to what we are trying to achieve as a district. Our mission, the mission of Rutherford County Schools, is to invest in every student every day. We updated that in November. Our vision, going with staying collaborative culture, successful students, empowered educators, proactive planning. Sorry, I skipped over to page 3. I should have just stayed with us. Sorry. Looking at our first, just our cover page, our communications team did a great job of making this an attractive document to be able to look at so that we can hand it out and show everyone what we're doing as a district and where we're moving towards. You'll see our table of contents, which outlines our different areas and departments we have, our leadership and governance with our leadership team and our Board of Education. Then we moved into our mission vision. Our objectives, we have 5 objectives. Provide early interventions that address student needs and support the whole child, and these have not changed. I think our board created these 3.5 or 3 years ago that have really fit our district well to be able to focus on what our needs are for our growing district. Increase achievement for all students by providing a high quality and equitable education, recruit, retain, and support high quality, effective employees for our growing and diverse student population, create efficient operations to optimize the investment in our students, and then ensure all facilities provide a safe and equitable space for our district to learn and grow. And you just have a page of about Rutherford County Schools, where we're over 52,000 students, provide 51 schools for 24-25 with our new elementary school opening in 25. We ran our newest employee number, so we're over 6,600 employees, really about 67, but over 6,600 with 3,800 certified. Of course, our updated academic performance of 32 level 5 schools, our career pathways, and then our excellence in extracurricular activities. Then we move into our objectives, and the way that we kind of organize this is your objective is across the top, so I'm on page 5 now. And an objective may cover multiple pages. So you'll see that first objective, provide early interventions to address students' needs and supports the whole child, covers page 5 and 6, and then it covers 2 goals. So it covers a goal of provide early interventions, but then also support the whole child. And I'm not going to read all of these. I just wanted to kind of go over organization. Then we move into our next objective on page 7. increase achievement for all students. Our goal is to address student needs. We, of course, have that as an action step that we have our high-dose low tutoring, which is part of the third grade retention. We also have that through Power Hour in our summer camps. We are a very data-hungry and data-rich district, all the way from our teachers to our instructional coaches to our principals to our district office, looking at where our students are and intervening to make sure they understand where we are on our standards. The next page is increasing academic supports for our students, taking that data and our benchmarks that we give and making sure that we understand, again, intervening where they need it. If you flip over to page 9, we're still on that same objective. The second one, increasing achievement for all students, aligning high-quality materials to ensure all students receive appropriate grade level instruction. The last couple years, we've really focused highly on our instructional materials with ELA adoption, math adoption, making sure our curriculum guides and our instruction team working with our curriculum leads to really align our instruction. I think our performance shows that. Continuing on to page 10, again, that same objective, increase achievement for all students, build and maintain structures that focus on measured outcomes and success of all students. We haven't had, for a district our size, a whole lot of turnover really in our central office at all in our instruction team, not much whatsoever in our principal leadership, and not really for a district our size in our highly effective teachers. And so I think that shows the way that we continue to operate. We then move into our next objective, which is on page 11. So objective 3, recruit, retain, and support highly effective employees. Continuing to provide that competitive pay plan to attract and retain high-quality employees. Committing resources to branding marketing, we're continuing to finish that portion. Provide training and support for employees who wish to become future teachers and administrators. We just launched our future principal application. We continually do that with our administrators, our assistant principals, and our principals, or people that want to become principals. Next page is the create efficient operations to optimize the investment in our students. So now we're getting more 3 focused on academics, and now we're getting towards operations. Our payroll transition system is pretty accurate. We are right now in the process of moving some of our HR information over to a different system so that we can start with teacher payroll starting in August. We've mentioned that a little bit, and that eventually will get us towards to where we could potentially pay teachers twice a month. But the first step is to get them paid in August. And so that has already started that transition for us to pay teachers so that they're not waiting 9 weeks once they start with us August 1st and not getting paid till September. So happy that that is working. Next page, page 13. Again, that 4th objective, create efficient operations to optimize the investment in our students, align and dedicate resources to efficient business model. We talk about our current staffing structures. We were supposed to have a principals meeting tomorrow. Instead, we'll move that to next Thursday, so I'll email principals once we're done. And Dr. Chastain has one of those as one of our agenda items going over our staffing models. We kind of have like the branches of government here for staffing models. We have it split. I budget the positions, Dr. Chastain grants the positions, Dr. Anthony posts the positions. And without one of the 3 of us, the positions can't be posted. And so we're going over our staffing models with our principals so that they know how we're staffing our schools. Then going over on page 14, continually looking at fiscal training for our buildings, and I think that helped. We had no audit findings this year. Our board knows that, but that is public to make sure that our employees are constantly aware of how we operate as a district. We move into the page 15, be known the premier provider of pre-K-12 education, and our action steps is really making sure brand recognition and showcasing what all we do as a district. Then ensure legal compliance, continuing again with that 4th goal of ensuring legal compliance and understanding, continue to update our administrative procedures. We are still working to obtain a centralized contract management. We do not have that portion yet, but still working on that. And then the last one is for facilities. Utilize capital project programs, facility improvements. So Trey was joking today. You'll see it on when we go over our financial summary. People started paying property taxes in January, so our Fund 177 started receiving funds this month. We operate on previous year's funding until January, so people started paying Fund 177, so we have started the projects that the board approved in May of last year. We've started doing those or started cutting those projects loose, I guess, currently. So, and then the last page, we have our awards and recognitions of our district. So comments, questions?
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Gonzalez.
Dr. Sullivan, thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you, communications team, to really format this and put some creative and visuals. It's really nice looking, by the way. So I have questions, and please don't shoot the messenger. So I think it's awesome that we have a strategic plan and it's broken down by the major components that really are functioning within the operational side. So my question to you is then, how do we track that we are hitting these goals with these action plans? And how do we become aware of certain action plans, action steps that are not feasible for whatever reason? It could be something that it's beyond our control.
Yeah.
So that if the board needs to come back, if you guys need to come back to us to make adjustments so you can hit these goals. So I'm just curious how this is monitored and how it's tracked. How can this be communicated to us that we're hitting the marks or that we're hitting some roadblocks along the way that are keeping some of these action plans from us hitting them?
So something I've seen some other districts do that I would like to start doing is anytime we are hitting something on here is connecting that to a board action. So that let's say that when we go to do our staffing model approval this coming year, which is something the board always approves, then we will add that this addresses objective, create efficient operations, optimize the investment in our students, and connect to that action item so that the board would have an idea of where we were on that item. I think that would be one way to be able to do it. We do address this every year, and so at our 2 retreats, I also think that's a place we need to.
Right. Is there, okay, aside from the action steps, is there deadlines that these are supposed to be hitting? Or?
Depending on which actual item it is, yes. Like I'll give you an example. We discussed one in leadership today, that we have a deadline for one of these that's at the end of February. So depending on each one, yes.
Will it be possible for us to get that as well? If there's specific things that we want to hit a target? And I guess if we're going to hit some targets, can we get like not necessarily every time we meet or anything like that, but maybe like a progress report? Maybe
I can do that.
Bi-monthly, like every 2 months or every 3, or quarterly report or something, just so that we can all, I know you guys are working on it. It's not that we don't trust that you are working on it. It's just to keep that communication going of where we're at and how we're doing. And so that way, if the board needs to come and be involved, that we already are all.
Be happy to. I'll update one as an appendix so that it doesn't hold up passage of our strategic plan, but that way it can be just an appendix and doesn't mess the formatting or anything.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Next, we have human resources.
We have first one is new job descriptions for JROTC Senior Army Instructor SAI and Army Instructor AI job descriptions, not artificial intelligence. These are our actual people. They just have to update their job descriptions as required.
Okay. Next, we have tenure recommendation.
And this is an extremely long list, 166. These teachers have met criteria for tenure in accordance with the tenure law. You'll see they have to have a valid Tennessee teaching license. They have to have served Rutherford County for 5 years, 45 months minimum. Within a 7-year period, the last 2 in regular, not interim position, have demonstrated an overall performance above expectations or significantly above expectations on the team evaluation model during the last 2 consecutive years of the 5-year period, or if they held tenure under the previous guidelines and returned to Rutherford County Schools and meeting the 2-year probationary period and tenure is reactivated. The reason you were seeing this so late, the level of effectiveness scores from the Tennessee Department of Education, they used to get released in August, September at the latest. They were released in November, December, and so that is why this list is so late. We had a superintendent study council meeting on Friday. The department in future years would like to speed this process up, but it is a 2 to 3 year at the very beginning. And so these teachers technically by process actually earned their tenure earlier than this, but we just now got their levels of effectiveness back. And if you see somebody, for anybody that's new, and I know that Mr. Vaughn knows this is a principal, but if you see somebody that has, like as an administrator, Dr. Ralston, and it says special education coordinator, they only get tenure as a teacher. They don't get tenure as an administrator. I think we have a principal on here, it's only tenure as a teacher. So they are guaranteed a teaching position, not an administrative position if somebody's listed. It's just that's the position they're holding right now. Same for instructional coach.
Next, we have, are there any questions? Next, we have legal.
We have transfer student under discipline. The first one, the board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was remanded for assault of another student. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody. When a student transfers from another school system under suspension or expulsion, director of school's recommendation is to deny. And you all have a manila folder, and that was emailed to you as well. If you have any questions, please see Ms. Ridley.
And we have another one.
Number 2, the board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was expelled for reckless endangerment and bringing and using a taser at school. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of school's recommendation is to deny.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have number 12, security software.
So this is a security software, a recommended motion to approve the bid for security software is presented. The wording was changed from what was originally posted as advised. The board has the copy in front of you. This is just replacing eventually what we currently have. We have this as part of our cleanup financial matters, which is actually the next item. It is going ahead and purchasing for this year up until next January 31st. Is that right, Mr. Runyon? I think that's correct. It goes through February 1st to January 31st. So it covers 2 fiscal years.
Any questions?
If you have questions, we can talk afterwards, but it is a security item, so was advised to change the wording of it.
Understand. Next, we have number 13, financial matters.
So this is our mid-year cleanup, Fund 141 fund balance amendment. This budget amendment cleans up expenditure line items at mid-year. On the revenue side, the budget is amended to reflect state grant allocations not included in the original budget. On the expenditure side, the larger items of this cleanup amendment reflect the increased cost of school maintenance supplies and parts, instructional support supplies and materials, security, cybersecurity insurance, maintenance contracted services equipment, transportation equipment, and elementary school startup funds. This amendment has a net increase of both current year revenue and expenditures of $1,310,000 with no use of fund balance. And so you will see that this is state grant. We received a little bit over $4 million in outcome funding from the state in December. We never budget that. We still have not used that. We always like to use that at the end of the year as part of our final year-end cleanup. So we have not touched that portion yet, just to see what still lays out there between January and June. I do anticipate electricity charges being more this month, just for one, because of the temperatures these last couple weeks and the number of portable heaters that we have purchased over the last couple days as well to run in some of those places.
Understand.
So that's our just mid-year cleanup. The revenue and expenditures match.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2 is Fund 177, Fund Balance and Expenditure Approval. This amendment moves funds from account 34685, committed for capital projects, to account 91,300,335, maintenance and repair services, buildings in the amount of $200,000. The movement of this money from fund balance will go to replace Stewart's Creek High auxiliary gym floor, which was damaged due to a break in a water main in an adjacent mechanical room. It was determined by the engineering department the floor is not repairable and will need to be replaced. The Deductible is $250,000, so it is cheaper to pay it ourselves than to use the deductible.
And when did this happen? A couple of months ago, right?
End of October.
In October?
Fall break.
Yeah.
Mechanical failure. The joint came loose. It's a 6-inch water line.
Oh, gosh. Okay, number 14, engineering and construction.
The one below it is we're asking to move the money, and then number 1 is we're asking to actually do it. So,
Okay, okay.
and then the second one
One
is
is-
Whitworth Buchanan basketball locker room request. Principal April Sneed's requesting to replace the existing basketball lockers. The cost for the project is $2,800 for materials only, with the labor being donated. The request is at no cost to the board. Engineering Construction has reviewed this request and has no objection.
Yes, Mr. Vaughn.
Yes, sir. Yes. Voluntary pre-K grant. We never budget those funds until we actually receive them. Yeah. Correct. Yep. Yeah, we go ahead and budget our expenditures for voluntary pre-K. We just don't get that funding until later on in the year. And so we already have it budgeted to spend. Once we get the funding, it just goes into 141. So if they ever got rid of it, we would get rid of it. Yes. Another district would take it, yes. Yep.
Okay, number 3, Rock Springs Elementary and Waldron Road Alignment Project.
Trey, this is all you.
This won't take but a few minutes, but I know this has kind of been a topic of conversation. And I've been working with the city of Laverne and their engineers, Reagan and Smith, for about 6 months now. They put a lot of thought. I would like to commend Gary Lyde, Scott Tatlovich with the city for including us in as part of this conversation, and they included us very early. So I greatly appreciate them bringing us to the table. What I'm going to show y'all tonight is not the complete document, and I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but I just want you to understand a little bit about what's going on. John, can you pull those up for me? This is not the complete document because they asked me not to share the complete document because it's still got a few minor tweaks and changes. This will be going out for bid. They hope by the spring, with the hopes that during the summer this project will get started. They are hesitant to give us a schedule on how long this will take until they have a contractor on board. They do agree with me that it's probably about an 18-month to maybe a 2-year project, and there's a lot of logistics in making this happen. If you look at the third page, John, it's T2A4, that one. That's your 1, 2, there. T2A4. The numbers on the, it's the, there you go. You'll scroll down. What you will see there is the existing alignment of Rock Springs Road, kind of goes up, and then at Lake Road, it turns back to the left and comes down the hill. What you see there lower, the straight line, that was where Waldron Road will be, going horizontal. That is the new alignment. What you see there is some temporary pavement that they're going to be installing. They're basically going to relocate a section of Waldron Road. They'll build it so that we can continue to use Waldron Road while they build the new section. Then once the new section is built, they will transfer the traffic over onto it so they can tear out the existing section. As part of that tearing out the existing section where Lake Road and Waldron Road intersect currently, there's about a 10.5-foot elevation change there. The road will be going lower. They're taking, as you come up to Lake Road, it goes up. I call it the roller coaster. You go up the hill at Lake Road, you turn left, and you go down the hill for a short distance around the pond, and then you go back right to go back toward Waldron Road. All of that S curve is coming out. That elevation change is coming out. To do that is quite an undertaking. When they lower that road intersection 10 feet, the water line and everything that connects us is all going to have to be taken out and lowered. There's a new development on the Dobson farm that is coming from the north that will come to Lake Road. They're currently under construction with that section, and they hope to have it completed first prior to this work being ready, so that they can refeed the school's water line from up Lake Road, so that they can take everything out where we're currently connected. We found out through this process that there's typically, when utilities are built, it's owned by the utility provider up to our meter. There's no easements on this project. They were never deeded to the city. But they still have rights to it. So when we redo this water line, we're going to fix the easement part for them to have their easements for their utilities. That's phase one. Phase two, once that is completed, John, if you will go, if you'll look to TA7, the next page, that is Lake Road, and that's our entrance off of it. What they're going to do is actually build a new temporary entrance so that they can tear ours out. When they lower the elevation at the intersection of Lake and Waldron, our intersection with Lake is going to go down about 6.5 or 7 feet. So they're going to build us a temporary road so that they can take our current one out, build the new one, and then they'll shift us back over to the new one and take the temporary one back out. If you go to the next page, T2B4, there you go. You see the alignment that's in that crosshatched area? That's the alignment of the new road. And you'll see the existing Lake Road is at the top. That single line next to where it says speed limit 15, and it kind of goes up and down the page. That's going to be the new alignment of Lake Road down to the new Waldron Road. They will have to get all of that built prior to taking the old Waldron Road out. So it's going to be a swap of traffic, but what we've been able to coordinate is that we will maintain both entrances the entire time. When we first started working through this, they were asking for us to condense to one or the other, which I couldn't. We worked very hard to figure this out because I could not make one entrance work as narrow as that road is to get buses and cars in and out. There's going to be a lot of traffic patterns that we're going to need to communicate to the parents as we go through this. They're going to do exhibits for us so that we can periodically, as we get ready to change the traffic patterns, we'll be able to send those out through our parent newsletter so that the parents are communicated with. It will increase our dismissal times, and I'm sure we will have some arrival things to work through based on time, because it's going to be a traffic nightmare. But we have worked very diligently to work through all of our utilities so that there is no disruption. There probably is going to be a summer that we will probably be without water for a period of time. But we're going to once they get a contractor on board, then we will get a little more in-depth with them on schedule and how to coordinate it and make it work. Right now, we've got the, as I call it, the Dr. Sullivan calls it, the 30,000-foot look. We've got that worked out. We feel like we have a good plan. I think the city's been very accommodating. We have too, I mean, but we've worked together, been a lot of long meetings to work through this. In the end, when we get through it, it'll make everything, for the community and for us a lot better. The roads will be wider, they'll be safer, those curves are going to go away, the elevation changes are going to go away, and there'll be a lot of things that probably should have been taken care of 20 years ago that weren't taken care of now. So I just wanted to give you a little bit for you to see what's going on. There is a lot of coordination there, but we've been able to maintain both entrances throughout the whole project.
So it's just going to be 2 lanes.
Yes.
It's going to be wider, though, I hope.
It'll actually, but when it's finished, it'll be wider. And there will actually be turning lanes onto Lake Road where right now there's not. It's just a 2-lane narrow road. There will be traffic improvements. There'll be turning lanes. All of this is a major improvement for the area.
Who's paying for this?
The city and the developer that's developing next to it. I don't know what their agreement is. Everything they are doing on us is at no cost to us. Everything is being taken care of by their project. That's why we've worked so hard, all of this temporary paving and all these kind of things to keep us open. I've tried to be fair, but I also wanted us to be kept whole as long as we could. It would have been a big deal if we'd have lost one of those entrances for any length of time.
Ms.
Free is
Maxwell?
always good, too.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Rosales.
Sorry, I thought you were done. Is there any sidewalks over there?
There is not.
For some reason, I thought it had sidewalks. Is it going to cut into the elevation of the school, or since they're going to flatten the road or anything like that?
No. The school, the pond, the parking lots, other than the 2 entrances coming from the one on the south side that comes from Waldron directly into the school, that one, the elevation changes there, but it's only like a foot or 18 inches. It's not much. And but they are reworking all of that. We will be giving them the easements they need. They'll taper so that we can mow the grass, because it'll create kind of a U-shaped bowl like a ditch, but they will take care of all that. All of that will be left in a condition that we can maintain it.
When do they expect to start this project?
They're hoping to get started sometime late summer.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, and they're looking at, there's portions that they're going to need to buy some easement from us, and we will potentially end up getting a little extra grass to mow. So
My concern is veterans, where there ends up being a no man's land that's not big enough to build on, but it creates an aggravation. And so that ownership, it cuts down on frontage, and then you don't touch the road. And if the county if we needed to do something later on, if we lost the road frontage, those are things generated in my mind right now.
most of this has negligible impact for us. Everything south of the current road is not going to be, it's either going to be the cities or the developers. Everything south on your drawing is actually east, but everything south of the existing road to the new road, it will be the developers or the cities to maintain. It will not be ours. The only thing they're doing from us is purchasing. We will actually lose a little bit. I'm gonna say maybe a couple 100 feet. I mean, it's, I don't,
With that area.
I don't think by the time they get that new section in there, it's gonna be large enough to do much with.
So with it, but I don't want to leave the problem for somebody else. That's the reason I said.
Mr. Reed is involved. I've been sending him some of the documents they've been sending us on purchasing easements and those kind of things, so I'm gonna leave that part to Mr. Reed. I do.
Thank you. All I want.
Okay. Next up, I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Ward.
Thank you. And on top of that, they've already got about 30 houses in the Arbor Town built. So there'll be that whole subdivision on top of the traffic nightmare for that, because it really doesn't have anything to do with the school system except for going to the school and getting to the Williamson County line. Yeah, but that subdivision's coming right along there, because I just came through there on Monday, and they've got about 30 houses up already, and they just started right before Christmas.
How many are they gonna have eventually?
671 in just that little neighborhood.
See, they say average 2 kids per house. So that's about what, 1,200 kids? It's not bad. They don't want to give us some land to build a school on.
It is bad considering we've already built an annex, and it's just, it too,
Yeah.
is just about full.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
I just want to say, I'm thankful that Laverne, the city of Laverne, reached out to us, and we have this collaboration going on. I wish that was the way that it always is. It seems to work better to have everybody that's going to be involved sitting at the same table. So I just want to say thank you
Absolutely.
to them that are watching.
From the beginning, at least since, I mean, you told me about it in June or July. I mean, it was early summer.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
They'll have to schedule a time too where when they're without water, the school can't operate without water, so.
We've worked that out. We're going to do that during the summer, but we will have to work around their maintenance schedule. You know, we'll have to, I don't know what we'll adapt, and I'll come up with a plan for us once I know when, how long and what and how. I think we can get the majority of the water line installed to where, in theory, it should be just a couple of days, and we should be able to get the water back on because we're not moving the meter. The meter assembly and everything is going to stay where it is. That's another thing that I tried to keep because that would have increased quite a bit of time for us. But all of that's going to stay. We're going to tie back in at the same place that we are now. And if we can keep that agreement that we have there, we can utilize the water before we can drink it. The chlorination test usually takes 48 hours. So we could be still using water. They flush anyway, so we could use that water to clean and strip and mop and that sort of thing. We just wouldn't drink it for a couple of days. We'll make sure all that takes place during a time that we don't have students there.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay. Next, we have Mr. Reed with 2 resolutions.
It's just one.
One, I'm sorry, I thought there was, oh, yeah, that's right.
Are experiencing a substantial influx of students for whom English is not their native language, and whereas many of these students are not fluent in reading or speaking the English language, and whereas federal law mandates that we educate all children, and whereas, for example, Rutherford County has experienced a significant surge in its ESL population with an increase of over 140% in the past decade, and whereas in May 2023, Rutherford County Schools had 6,214 ESL students, which has grown to 8,373 ESL students in the current school year. And whereas this growth has necessitated an additional 25 positions at the start of the school year for the English as a second language program, and whereas as demand continued to rise, Rutherford County Schools added 19 more growth positions for ESL, primarily funded through local and state revenue due to Title III funds only consisting of approximately $1.3 million. And whereas the need for more positions has placed a considerable financial strain on our local revenue, primarily derived from our taxpayers. And whereas the pressure of increasing numbers of ESL students
is creating exceptional financial pressures on school systems to provide the services which school systems are legally required to provide, and whereas additional Title III funds are needed to meet the legal requirements imposed on school systems so that the cost of the same is not overwhelmingly borne by local property taxes, local funded taxes, and state funds, and whereas the increase in funding is needed to adequately serve ESL students, whereas the increase in funding needed to adequately serve ESL students is $3,500 more per ESL student. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Education as follows. The Board of Education urges our state legislature and governor to advocate for the current administration to expedite the closure of our nation's borders and for the federal government to provide additional funding for Title III program to fund the services the federal government requires school systems to provide to ESL students. So that's the resolution that you would be considering on Thursday.
Part of that's already starting today.
Yes.
President Trump, I think, has sent the bus down there to start closing it up, so.
Yes, Ms. Sharp.
I don't know if you want to change that language, but the border was closed officially yesterday at 12:01.
There wasn't an executive order.
Yes, there was yesterday.
The only executive order that he signed was to send the border patrols down there, but there wasn't a executive order to say we're closing the borders per se at 12:01.
There was an executive order, the border's closed, and they're talking about closing the borders at northern. He signed some hundreds of executive orders.
He signed, but there wasn't one at 12:01 that said we're closing the border. It was one to
You
send
just might want to check
the
that out and change the language. If the border's already closed, you need to change.
We'll look at that. Mr. Tidwell.
Yeah, so it's primarily for, we're advocating for federal to change the Title III. Okay.
Yes.
Well, even if it's closed or whatever, it's just saying that, taking a sense that that's what we're wanting to do. Because right now at the state level, there's no support in trying to get some funding for ESL because of a particular perception. I am an ESL language speaker, and so it puts all of us in a type of vote that's, I think it's unfair, in my opinion. And so with our state legislatures and governor, they're the better ones to help us to advocate and get funding from the federal side because they have a lot more pull in that sense, and that's just my opinion. And that's why I presented this.
Thank you.
I would say in the director's rumor mill, the funding that we're most concerned about losing federally is Title II and Title III. Title II is professional development, and Title III is around our English as a second language. So those are the two that we're most concerned about losing. Of course, who knows whether that actually comes to fruition. That's just what's in the nationwide rumor mill.
Have you heard anything about tenure? Someone told me yesterday.
Rumor mill, yes, but
Okay, that's what I thought.
a lot of rumor mills and uncertainty. So, yeah.
Any word on dismantling the Department of Ed in Washington?
Since we're hiring people, I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if y'all have seen it or not, but they hired
Miss Penny Schwinn, I saw that. Yeah.
all your legislators, your federal reps.
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
Whoops. I think I probably missed it. Who are we sending this resolution to? Is this going to the state? Is this going to the feds? Who's it going to? We're doing it just to feel good.
Well, this goes to state legislators.
Okay. I missed that.
Okay, so I did a quick Google search about the Trump executive orders, and the headlines are, Trump signs these executive orders related to the border. Trump signs sweeping actions on immigration and border security on day one. Trump signs executive orders to kickstart his immigration crackdown. There's nothing here that says specifically that he signed something to close the border.
Well, we have a resolution that's asking for more help from the federal government, and we don't have enough funding to do what we need to do and take care of the children that we need to educate. So and that's what we're actually asking for. So thank you very much. Next, we move to book review. We're going to do it similar Thursdays as we did last time. Read out the books. They are in order this time, and I do appreciate that. I'm sorry. So we shouldn't have to be going back and forth. And I will go ahead and read off the title, and I will read the recommendation from our librarians. If that's okay with everybody. That worked, everybody? And, okay. Next we have financial report.
All right, financial report first, if you will look at the two-page document. So we're going to look at revenue. So revenue, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So from 41,110 down to 41,110. Current property tax all the way down to marriage licenses. Those all make up maintenance of effort, along with 44,110 investment income, 44,120 lease, rentals, and PPP, and then the last one is 46,851. So I'll repeat those. The first 41,110 all the way down to 41,110, current property tax through marriage licenses. Skip down to the middle of the page in investment income and lease rentals, those two. And the last one that makes up maintenance of effort is state revenue, TVA, 46,851. Regardless, all of these are our revenues. The main ones I just wanted to highlight, we did a quick update we did an update in September, quick one in October at our board retreat. We had one in November and didn't do one in December because we didn't have a December meeting. Property tax will really start to move now that we are in January and December, so you should expect big months. You'll see trustees collection, clerk and masters, all of those are well within averages where they should be. Sales tax is always a couple months behind, so it looks at 52% of the year. It's trending in the right direction because we are a little bit more than 50% of the year and we're already over 52. That probably already includes November. Probably December hasn't hit the books yet, I would imagine. I'd have to check with Michael, but Black Friday is probably already included in that, which would be my guess is why that is already over 50% for that portion. Wheel tax, business tax, mixed drink tax, we have not hit that. I've got an email from Mr. Reed to send him some data because he's working on that. So you'll see we have not hit that one yet, but that's a collection portion that we're in talks with Murfreesboro City about for how that portion's calculated. Marriage licenses are up. More people are getting married than we anticipated. I guess we had a January 1st, people decided to get married. Investment income is way up, and that's one that we have been gaining, I hate to say gaining, but gaining quite a bit of funds from. You'll see we're already at 163% of our budget. Those rates have been coming down, and so we budget it, we don't actually budget our revenue. Michael Smith budgets and the county commission budgets our revenue. And so as that continues to trend down, I expect it to continue to fall a little bit. And then state revenue, all of these are above 50%, so kind of what we're looking at. One thing to keep in mind is even if these go above and we collect more money than we were budgeted, at the end of the year it goes into fund balance. We don't get the authority just because it comes over what we're expecting. Like right now, that investment income is $900,000 over. We don't have that extra $900,000 to spend. It goes into fund balance at the end of the year. And so that's why I feel pretty good. We talked last month about we need roughly $8 million to go ahead and purchase science textbooks so we don't get behind the other counties purchasing on July 1st. We have a healthy fund balance that we need to be able to look at for one-time purchases. I had a good meeting with our chair of health and education, Phil Dodd, Michael Smith, and Ms. Maxwell last week so that we could talk about our overall budget priorities. There will not be extra money available, and so we really have to look at all options. Bus contractors, along with high school, along with raises, we basically have about $4 million For looking at revenue, for us, that comes down to a 5 to 10% increase for bus contractors unless we take costs out of somewhere else. I don't know if that's a parent responsibility zone, lessening how many contracts they have. I don't know where that extra comes from. What my big concern comes down to is if we're looking at, because that's all it comes down to is money, is dollars and cents. My big concern is because ultimately it's going to come down to our board. County Commission ultimately is going to tell us that it is up to your board to decide what type of raise you guys give your bus contractors. If we go in at a 35% raise, our Fund 177 will be gone because they're just told we don't have the revenue for it, so that is the only new place that funding will come through. Just conversations we have multiple months. We're in the middle of the negotiating portion for a budget. This is normal budgeting tactics that we do every single year. It is not a secret to the County Commission any longer that that's what the bus contractors are asking for because that was during public comment at the County Commission meeting. I do think that there's probably ways that we can look within that transportation budget and try to either move routes or look at different routes and try to save some funding. I think you brought it up last meeting, Ms. Darby, about how can we move some funds so that we can try to get that percentage higher. That's really what we have to be able to do. If we need to get to a higher percentage, we have to lower the cost somehow. One thing that I'm going to send to the board as soon as this meeting is over, as part of the last contract negotiations, I think it's good for everyone to kind of wasn't here. There was a lot of conversation about deadhead miles. We used to have, was it 40 miles, Trey? It used to be 40 miles, so contractors' rates were guaranteed at 40 miles. It was increased to 60 miles to try to take care of those deadhead miles. We asked Trey or Wanda really, and Trey to run a percentage, how many routes actually are run at 60 miles every single day, and I will send that report to you. It is in the hundreds and over 150 routes each day that run under 60 miles, and so we do not ask for reimbursement for those routes. That was a lot of conversation last May about concerns about GPS. We don't ever go ask, you're guaranteed for 60 miles, so that's what we pay for 60 miles. And so when we're talking about negotiations, that deadhead route to already be over 60 miles already, or to be under 60 miles, there's already extra funding being earned there. They get paid based on the mileage rate. If they turn it in, yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. I must send it to the board. I guess I need to make it public so I can tell you. No, you're good. It's 185 routes are under 60 miles with deadhead included. So that is 2/3 of our bus routes are under 60 miles.
All the buses are the same now, right? I mean, you've got, the large buses are all the same, the special ed buses, are they all the same size?
We do have 2 or 3 different rates based on seats. So, yes. Because we do have some 90 passengers, and we've got a few that are less. So that's why you have a different seat rate. Right. And we've narrowed it down. We used to have a whole lot. We've down to about, yes, we're down to about 4 or 5.
And then the starter route, and I don't know that that's what it was called, but the route that hauled all the high schoolers into Oakland, that was a larger bus. There was a different rate there.
And we do have different rates.
Yeah, okay. So it's not time to get rid of the seat rate then?
No, sir. I don't think so.
Not in this contract anyway?
No, sir.
Okay. Just trying to get my arm around the calculations.
We're gonna have a whole lot more conversation about contractors and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted you all to have an idea of like dollars and cents. Where does it come from? It's got to come from somewhere else. And you all can see revenue. I just want you to see where our revenue is.
Mr. Tidwell.
Yes, can I just verify here again? You said 185 routes are under the 60 miles. That includes the deadhead? Is that?
185 routes are under 60 miles with deadhead included, yes.
Thank you.
And I'll forward this to you all as soon as we're done.
Thank you.
And it's by route, by calculation, so.
Yes, Mr. Rosales?
Yes, when are we going to get the results back from the bid that went out with the RFP?
Next board meeting?
Next board meeting, like on Thursday?
No, the
No,
next
the
one.
following week? Okay.
Next one.
How much is in our current fund balance, 177? I know they took out some money out of there, like, they
How much is
trimmed it a
in-
little bit.
How much is in the actual budget?
Like, yes, how much does it pass for us to have in this fiscal?
Is it 177 or 141?
177.
177, that's our,
It's about 7 million.
is it 7 million?
Yeah.
And how much did they
The
trim off?
total in that budget is,
18 and some change.
the overall what was passed on the property tax was a little bit over 18. What I'll caution, just to remind everybody, is that is an unshared penny. So when it comes back into 141, that is 10 pennies, and about 15% of that is going to have to be shared. So if we bring 177 money back into 141, it is going to be more money that is going to be shared back to the city. So it's going to lose 15% of its value.
The 18 million is going to lose 15%? But they trimmed some of it due to the last budget cycles because they were wanting
Just like
to.
0.1%. They didn't
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to have lots of conversations about 177. I don't envision a scenario where 177 stays in its current form. Whether 177, what my idea would be for 177, if General Assembly passes education savings accounts, there are a lot of talks about school facility funds in that. I would envision that would become our Fund 177, and then my request for 177 would be use that to fund the high school, because there is no way to fund a new high school without that in our current county government. And that would be a hard argument to make to, at least just, this is just Jimmy speaking, to our delegation to say, we gave you money for school facilities and you guys didn't use it for school facilities. That'd be a tough argument, I think.
Mr. Tidwell?
On that particular note, do you have any kind of projected ideas of what that might even look? Are we talking about a fraction of what we would have in 177?
Which part?
As far as if it were to pass the essays?
I think what they call the bullet nickel is pretty safe, so 5 cents on the property tax. So you're looking at about 7 million. I think that's pretty safe. Or I say that's pretty safe. I could see what would have been 5 cents at that time being safe.
Has the penny gone up, like the cost value? Because I think it was like 1.
It always goes up a little bit, but county
Which is it
government
now?
did give a 4% raise in December, so that's going to take their portion.
Okay.
What's the chances of us getting some of the lottery money?
0 right now.
Yeah.
It's part of the education savings account, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Tidwell?
I have a question about something you mentioned earlier about the numbers here in the budget and how they're a little bit better, the projections are. And you also mentioned because of the Black Friday in November is likely included that, but is that typical?
It is, yeah.
So are they always typically better than what we would see?
Depends on the year. Ours have been typically better because we are growing, so it's based on last year's number of people that live in the county, and as we continue to add, I keep saying students, residents, more residents are spending more money. And it's just a different philosophy for budgeting, and so our county philosophy is keep maintenance of effort low, and we have a higher fund balance. The county to our west has a maintenance of effort increases a little bit every year, but their fund balance stays at the 3% minimum. Just a different philosophy. Yep.
Anything else?
And then I will go over expenditures on Thursday. That's the big document over here. Nothing different, just a lot of numbers.
Thank you so much
Yep.
for bringing this.
Be nice if we could hit up Amazon to get us a hard
Yeah.
on this one.
Would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Didn't
didn't?
get
Yep.
that? No?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, it was. Next, we have the director's update.
Director's update, schools are closed tomorrow, so that's not a decision we make hastily. We are closed due to temperatures, and so that is not a precedent I wanted or like to set, and it's not a precedent necessarily that we are going to set. Lots of factors go into that. Of course, you know, with those type of decisions, you can never make everybody happy. We look at our portables. We have over, Trey, how many portables do we have? Over 120, but like 160-something total portable classrooms.
153.
And so those are tough. Our bus stops are tough at this time of the year with its 3 degrees. It is different for us in that normally when it's 3 degrees, we're out of school for snow. I don't know the last time we had it that cold and we weren't out for some type of precipitation, snow or sleet or freezing rain or something. We also, our buildings, I don't think it's a secret, we have our maintenance staff, Mike, for once, is not at one of our meetings. I'm sure he's checking buildings would be my guess. Mike worked all weekend. We spent about $10,000 in emergency purchases over the weekend, making sure we had portable heaters at 3 buildings that I knew would struggle today. And it's just one of those that when you look at the 2-hour delay versus a full day, 2-hour delays are awful from a school operation standpoint. Basically, kids get there, they eat breakfast. As soon as they eat breakfast, they eat lunch. You have a modified schedule. There's not really a lot of learning that happens. They go home. The parents complain because as soon as they dropped them off, they turned around, they couldn't go to work. We had 7 still inclement weather days, and so I made the decision to close. I know that doesn't make everybody happy. I would rather just close the entire day since we had the day and not have to worry with that extreme weather as far as where our students are. So we still have 6 days as far as we did also join the National Weather Service's 1 o'clock briefing today to look at forecasts. They talked about how February, their long-term model forecast has February as warmer and more rain because of the warmer than average temperatures, and so we factored that into account as well. But we debated between the 2-hour day and the full day for all day, just about, so. Always.
We're not the only school system that's closing tomorrow.
No.
There are several.
There's a bunch.
Yeah.
But usually there's a group of us that try to stay together, and
I know.
we're not together. So we're all over the place. We broke apart from each other, which is a sad day. Yeah, sad day. We're not by ourselves, but we usually stay with our more metropolitan districts, and I went with the more rural districts today. So.
Any other questions? Yep. Okay, Mr. Vaught, do you have anything to bring to us regarding the Tennessee Legislative Network? Okay, and federal, just, and nothing's happened up there yet, right? Not yet. I would like to lead off general discussion with, I've spoken with Mr. Reed, who's been working on behind the scenes regarding the Lee Road property, and can you give us somewhat of an update?
Yeah, as you know, the family members have had some things to work through with respect to ownership of the property. That they have a court hearing date on the 14th, because a settlement has been reached in regards to all that, so they had to get court approval from a conservatorship standpoint. So that is happening the 14th. So everything should be closed out quickly thereafter.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Darby.
Mr. Reed, so can you kind of give us just I know you really don't have exact dates or anything, but kind of a next steps timeline as to what we might be looking at?
So they've got the date of the 14th. They will have some things to get done between themselves after that, which will try to take a week to 2 weeks. So I think by the end of February or first part of March, you might be in a position to have a contract being presented to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other general discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say hats off to our maintenance department again for checking the schools, because, boy, I'll tell you, in this kind of weather, it's, they spend all weekend doing that, and they'll probably spend all night tonight doing it, and I just like to say thanks to them for for all the work they do.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
I just want to give a big congratulations to the marching band from Stewart's Creek High School. And I want to thank, too, I think I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, but that some of our legislators and stuff were kind of key in getting them to be able to actually perform in spite of the cold weather. So just a huge shout out to them. They did a fabulous job. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. It was awesome. And a huge thank you to all the supporters. I know we had several large donations from some of our local businesses, lots of parents and citizens of Rutherford County that gave funds for them to be able to do that trip. So super proud of them.
Yes, it was. It was wonderful, and it was very, very proud moment for this county and for the schools, and I'm glad it worked out. So it went from being very dark, they're not going to get to perform, to excitement that they did get to perform. And it was interesting to see a parade indoors. I liked that.
It worked, yeah.
About this, yeah.
So that's, that's kind of,
Yeah.
it's really a neat deal. That was a good deal. They were with Central, yeah.
Yeah, Central was the last school that did
I
it.
think it was 61.
That was one of those times, that's one of those times I was telling you that they got to go to Washington, we got to go to the Tobacco Bowl, and, so we never could understand. They'd go to Washington, Florida, and California, and here we were to Jackson, Tennessee. Listen, I'd been a whole lot better off if I had.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Maybe we can, on maybe a work session night, have some of them come and speak about.
I would love that. Yes, that's an excellent idea, Ms. Sharp, excellent idea, because I got to go to Washington, D.C., but it wasn't anything like that. There was a parade and contest, cherry blossom festival that we got to perform in. That was a good time, but nothing like this. So definitely, that sounds great. Is there anything else? Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
I don't want this to come off the wrong way, and I'm not admonishing anybody in particular here, but we operate on Robert's Rules of Order, and I like to have some informal conversation like we're having here at the end. But when we get to some of these agenda items, I feel like because we are not seeking recognition, what we end up having is we start having discussion over top of each other, and then temperatures start to rise. And I think the will of this board, and I truly believe this, I think the will of this board is to do the best interest of the students. And so I would just like for us to kind of reflect on that moving forward. It keeps the those rules of order, and we're never going to be perfect on them. So somebody out there watching, is going to say, oh, yeah, we are off here, you're off here. It's not that as much. It's just at least some of the baseline guidance, I think, would be helpful so that we don't get into those fierce back and forth that's happening. And again, it's not anybody in particular here. I just think it would be good, respectful to the chair as well for the order that they're trying to keep, that if we keep on that. So
I appreciate that. That is very, I appreciate you bringing that up because there are times when we do seem to go back and forth and talk over one another, and we really have to be mindful that people are listening to us, and this is about the kids, and we're all here to do the best job that we can. So.
And I know I said that right after there was a lot of informal conversation. That had nothing to do with it. I was going to say it way before. I like the banter back and forth. I think that part's good for the board in general. My other question was, and this is something that I brought up when I got on the board, Ms. Rosales has mentioned as well, and Butch has brought up as well too, is we've all had this different views, not differing views, same views, of a grant writer, and whether that has ever been put forth forcefully or not, and whether we really took that step. I know we looked at different routes and we've talked about different things, but is that, just to get it out in the open and clear, is that something that is going to be actually useful? Or do our departments already handle that? Or is it something that maybe there are opportunities, as we've alluded to on this side of the table so far, that we are potentially missing out on?
Yeah, I think you actually made the motion last board, and so we actually have a grant writer position approved. We posted it a couple years ago. The only applicants we had were teachers, and we didn't want to pull teachers in the middle of the year, so we'll post it again and see what type of interest we get. Our HR department has a lot further reach than we did that last time.
Okay, wonderful.
I know that we also use a third party. I know I started keeping up with it a little bit.
We haven't had as much success there as we would like. A lot of them are still out there as far as our applications, but it's been very small amounts.
Is it because we were focusing on, at the time, the directive was to look for things for bad meal debt, capital projects, and there was a third one. Is it because of what we were looking for that we were getting in small
The capital
quantities?
projects are hard.
Yeah, so maybe we need to change the scope and add things that are bigger, like a bigger fish. And what are those? And that's where we can tax you guys to help us identify the areas that are more critical, and then that we can focus on that. Because I think it was more led by the board on what the areas were. So maybe we just need to pass it on your court and to tell us what are the critical areas to go for the bigger fishes. And maybe we have better luck in that sense.
I think we're also in a better position teaching-wise than we were 2.5 years ago, that if it is a teacher that has a great writing background, that we feel more confident now to pull somebody than we did 2.5 years ago.
How many teachers, I know personally the one that is a grant writer at Riverdale. How many do we have in the district? Do you know how many?
Nope.
Okay.
I know 2.5 years ago, at that point, we were struggling to fill classrooms and rebuild.
I understand,
some things,
yeah.
So we're in a lot better spot now.
Okay. Is there anything else?
A huge shout out to our schools for spoiling us today and every day, really. It's hard to walk back there sometimes. I end up feeling really guilty about it, but you guys really do spoil us, and it's very much appreciated.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Anything else?
Move to approve.
You're adjourned.